Hi, my name's Dave, and you're listening to episode 61 of On the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers, by scale modelers, all about scale models. And we have another cracker episode lined up for you. We've got listener mail, new kits to talk about, and of course our special guest, Alex from Uschi. But before we get started, it's important to know that this episode is being brought to you through the generous support of Tony Mayberry and David Thornton, both who have become patron supporters of the show. If you would like to join Tony and David in supporting the show, you can do so by going to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount from $1 upwards. Your contributions help us to cover our production costs and are greatly appreciated. Fine Scale Modeler is proud to support On the Bench. Fine Scale Modeler is the world's most recognised and essential magazine and is available in all good newsagents and newsstands or wherever you purchase your magazines. Alternatively, go to their website www.finescale.com and subscribe to either a print edition or the digital edition. Or why not treat yourself to both? Go now. Go to www.finescale.com. And hello and welcome to the show, and hello to Ian.
G'day Dave, g'day listeners.
And Julian.
Hello.
Very short and sweet, aren't you?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Must be the cold weather that's slowing you down a bit.
Yeah, that's what that's my excuse.
It's been freezing this afternoon.
Yeah, it got pretty cold.
Yeah, I guess
that good old Arctic blast.
our North American and European friends probably wouldn't think it's cold, but by Aussie standards,
It's freaking cold today, yeah.
Cold, yes. So, what's been happening, benches?
Oh, not a great deal, really. Just still cleaning up bits for the cockpit on the Buffalo and started doing a bit of rescribing.
Yep.
Because being old Tamiya, it's half and half raised panel lines, half recessed.
Yep.
So I'm turning the raised panel lines into recessed
How can
panel
you produce a model that's half raised panels and half recessed?
I know, ask Tamiya. I remember when they released their, years and years ago, they released their F-14 Tomcat.
Yeah.
The big 32 scale one. And I remember the front half, because I built that when I was a very, very young lad, and the front half was all recessed panel lines.
Oh, seriously?
The whole cockpit section, fuselage of the cockpit was all recessed panel lines. Rest of the aircraft, raised.
That is bizarre.
Yes.
Julian. All right, what am I up to?
What are you up to?
So, I managed to ruin a few bits in my airbrush.
In your airbrush?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How'd you manage that?
Well, is this a $500 airbrush you got?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So, what happened was I was sticking a little bit, so I went to disassemble it.
Yeah.
The problem was I got the internals confused with my other airbrush. So when I went to pull a bit out, I'm like, why isn't it coming out?
Oh, no.
It was only after I'd ruined them trying to get them out that I realised, it's not supposed to come out.
Whoops.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
So what are you going to do now?
No, I just order it. Just the little tiny nozzle bit on the end.
Yeah.
Right? And the needle.
All right, okay.
So, yeah, I just bought some replacement parts.
So that's not too bad
internet. Yeah.
Well, that'll teach you.
Yeah, it will.
Been doing any model building?
Yeah. Well, that's... I ruined it because I was going to paint something, right? So, yeah, I've been painting my P47. I started putting
You're still painting that?
Yeah, well, I would have painted it better the other night if I had my good airbrush, but I had my other one, which was, it's all right. It can do the job to a degree, but it's not quite as... I can't set a limit on how much paint comes out like I can with the more tricky one.
Right, okay.
So,
it's just the pressure
on occasion,
your finger,
yeah, I know, but on occasion I'll move it too far and it'll pull a tiny bit or something like that. That and there's other issues like when you're spraying
but hang on, there's a limit to it. You can screw it in, so it
not on this one that I've
isn't
got.
there?
No, the more expensive one does, but the other one doesn't.
There's normally...
And it's an Iwata. The one I'm using that I had to use, and it doesn't have the limiter. It's an Iwata airbrush. Huh. It's their sort of bog standard, middle of the road kind of one.
Yep.
The other thing is that because I can't spray as small, as a result, what happens is you can, but it's not quite there. It's not as tailored to that sort of thing. So I end up having to take the crown off to get close enough. That's how small I'm spraying.
Wow!
Because I want a tight but not hard edge to my demarcation.
Well, if you're spraying that close, what sort of pressure are you spraying it under?
About 15. If you go any lower than that, nothing comes out.
It
so,
splatters.
Yeah, and so initially, a lot of the job that I did the other night, the spray pattern was just a little too wide, and as a result, since I'm spraying Insignia blue over a lighter color, which is RAF Azure blue, it's until you get high opacity, it almost looks like a really bright blue. So where you get the edge, if it's not tight, it looks weird. It looks like there's I've sprayed a bright fluoro-y blue that's on the edge between these two colors. Yeah. So it looks a bit weird. In other areas, I took the crown off and I was able to get tighter and had to keep sort of cleaning the needle tip because it kept getting gunked up with paint. Yeah. I don't have that problem when I do it with my other one. The 1.8, the 0.18 needle on the other one, I don't know, just doesn't seem to catch any paint.
Oh, there you go.
So it's an expensive lesson.
It's a very expensive lesson.
I'd say so.
Something like $40 for this bit, and another 50,
it's not
50
just
for that or something.
It's the waiting to get it shipped over and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, not having the tool on hand when you
want I know.
Your preference,
That's why I've got about 3 or 4 airbrushes.
Well, in case one of them gets broken.
Well, as I get older, I get lazier. So in one airbrush,
he doesn't clean them.
No, I do clean them.
I'll finish that one, plug in another one, spray away, put it away, put another one on.
I figured out I need another 2, and I'll explain to you why. So
this is going to be good.
I've got, how you got 3 general sort of needle sizes that you use. I don't know, what are 3.0 and 1.5? What's the other one? 2. And I like just to have them. I hate interchanging them. So I figure if I've got 3 airbrushes there, and each one's got is 2 or 1.5 or a 3, I don't have to bother sort of, changing them all the time.
Yeah.
And Ian has got an idea where you only do metallics through one particular airbrush.
Yes. Yeah, I do that too.
And I sprayed metallics through one of them, and oh my God, it took me half an hour to clean the darn thing afterwards. So I'm going to do what you do. I'm going to buy another airbrush just purely for metallics now.
Yep.
So, I mean, airbrushes aren't that expensive, so, it won't cost me much to run a 4th airbrush.
I might what about the 5th?
There's nothing wrong with a 5th.
Well, you said you were going to get 2 more. What's the other one going to be for? For your makeup.
A spare?
Or primer?
Your makeup. I don't use makeup. I don't use airbrushes for makeup, I should say.
Yeah.
Well, some people use a single action for primer work because they're easy to clean and you don't need the dual action.
Yeah, no, I use rattle cans for primer work for big ships.
For ships?
Yeah.
What about tanks?
I've only got 3.
I haven't really been doing much priming on tanks.
As in you haven't primed?
No. I'm sad to admit.
Why? Why be sad?
Well, because normally I'm a big advocate for priming, so to admit...
Priming's priming, I don't know.
Well, you know me
about priming.
Well, what's caused this change? I mean...
I don't know. I was just sitting there and I just kept going and bang, bang, and next minute... It's not a change. It's just being a bit lazy. I just figured I'd just...
So you've actually got paint on an armour model?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes. This is on the Sheridan.
I'm
stuck.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I do remember. Yeah.
That's a first.
But here's a mistake because the plastic that the Sheridan comes in from Tamea is a green.
And it's very close to your paint colour.
Yeah, so...
You should have primed.
I should have primed.
Mate, I had the same with the Moosaroo Cup Challenge build.
Yeah? You didn't prime or...?
I didn't prime, I just painted it. Well, it came in grey, red and yellow plastic.
Yep.
And each bit that had to be yellow was yellow plastic. Each bit had to be red was red plastic, and each bit was grey. It was grey plastic.
Yeah, did you paint it a different shade of yellow or red?
Yeah, slightly different, so you could notice it.
Was that an aesthetic choice, or was it just you went?
I just thought pick the colours I thought would look all right. That'll do.
I'm very picky about my yellow
nice
colours.
Red. I used RLM 24. I think is the German yellow colour, I should say.
Because I don't like my yellows to look too
bright.
Yeah,
like what you're wearing today.
That's fluoro.
That's fluoro.
All right, yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Actually, funny you should say fluoro because I bought some fluoro paint today.
What's that for?
Well, because I've got so many APCs floating around, I want to do one in the NASA as a NASA APC. So NASA had...
A NASA armoured personnel carrier?
They had 3 of them, and they were near the launch pad. They're about 9/10 of a mile from the launch pad. And so for the Saturn rocket, so what happened was if there was an issue to get the astronauts out of the Apollo capsule, they'd get out, then there'd be this great big long zip line down to a M113, which is sitting there waiting, and all 3 astronauts would jump in and drive off. And in the meantime, there's 2 other APCs that were full of firefighters, and the silver sort of gear they wear, sitting further out, and they'd come in and give them sort of protection.
Sounds good.
So it comes in sort of it's painted in sort of like a fluoro green, odd green, almost Oshkosh green is the best way to explain it. So if everybody knows the big Oshkosh airport firefighting trucks, they've got this sort of weird greenish. Yeah. So I thought, you know what, I'll just do a fluoro sort of colour and I'll see how it turns out.
Get some NASA badges
eventually.
On it.
Yeah, where am I going to get them from?
Someone will sell them.
Yeah. So I popped down to the paint shop, the model shop, to get some paint and pick up the fluoro colours and a couple of greens, and ended up buying another M113. This time as the Academy kit, which looks absolutely gorgeous. Comes in a whole heap of different turrets and versions. So yeah, I'm almost sorry I bought all those tomato kits now, but never mind. And yay, happy, joy. My super sanding blocks came in from Mr. Goodman.
Yeah, they're pretty good, aren't they?
Oh, they are. You know what? I wish there was an 800 grit. I might have to talk to Anthony about doing that because it goes down to 600 grit, and it really, I'd
too abrasive.
No, 600 fine. I do a lot of my work in 600, but I think it could just do with this an 800 just to round out the whole thing.
Well, okay, so 600 would be more grit than an 800?
No, 800 is less. So the higher the number, the lower the grit.
Yeah.
Yep.
So like 1500 is getting like really smooth, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Wait till you get to 3000.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I've got a micro mesh.
Yeah, I've got micro mesh as well. Yeah.
And that goes up to like 12,000.
Yeah.
I've got to get new ones. I've had mine a while, and I've treated them poorly because I was using them when I didn't know how to use them properly, and they're all sort of messed up now.
Just have you got the which ones have you got?
The Alclad ones.
Could you get? Oh, okay, I haven't got them. You get these other ones.
They're like a ribbon of cloth.
Yeah,
they're long ribbon type of thing, and I think they've made them out of ribbon so that you can do them wet, right?
Well, I've got this other brand. It's almost like a mesh, so you can actually wash it.
Okay.
I don't know what the brand is. I have to think about it.
Micro mesh, really good stuff. Especially like I want to say somewhere around like 800. Is it 800 grit? Maybe something like that. No, 2000.
Yeah.
Around 2000 is good when you've you've done some masked painting.
Yep.
And you've got that sort of raised edge.
Yep.
Where you've had to lay down enough paint so that it gets full opacity, but then you've got that physical edge, and you need to take that off without it destroying your paint job.
Right.
And then you can just rub that on it, and it just takes that whole sharp edge off it.
Oh, very good. It's good for polishing canopies and that sort of stuff as well, isn't it?
I haven't had to, actually. Because
another good way is just get some 2000 grit wet and dry and soapy water. Soapy water's great for wet and dry.
Soapy water. Okay.
Yeah, it allows the soapy water actually allows the paper to slide better over what you're sanding, so it doesn't grab as often.
It acts as a lubricant.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, these sanding blocks are pretty cool.
They are good.
Look, I'm hanging out to use one. I really am.
I mean, I was somewhat skeptical at the time, but it's a proper well-designed modelling product. It's a good size. You know?
I couldn't see. You know what? It's funny you should say that, because when I first heard about them, I couldn't see the point, because I used to be like Ian, just grab a bit of wood and you'd wrap, some sandpaper around it and off you go. But seeing that, I'm just hanging out to
wait
find
till you use
something
it.
to
They're
use
great.
it on.
They're great to use. Yeah.
So that's super sanding blocks from Mr. Anthony Goodman. And
Goodman's Models.
speaking of Mr. Goodman from Goodman Models, and the boys over at the Scale Model podcast gave us a real slap, because we were talking about railroad scales, and we kind of got a few things around.
Because we're not railroad modelers, yeah, fair enough.
And it wasn't just Mr. Goodman who chimed in. It was also Stuart as well. And,
both of them.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that slap is for you guys, because I don't know anything, and
I
front admitted that.
It goes on. We've got some listener mail as well, so we might as well get straight into that.
Yeah, let's hook into the listener mail.
Because it's all about the scale stuff, so, and how we got it wrong. And
Well,
you know
it's
what?
not like we sit down with notes when we do this podcast.
No, some of us do. I mean, I've got all this paper in front of me.
Well, that's only because you're getting schooled.
I'm not getting schooled. It's hard being a producer. All right. First mail to come in is from Carl Fenton. And Carl writes, "Hello, Dave, Ian and Julian. My name is Carl Fenton.
Hi,
and
Carl.
I'm an avid scale modeller from Brisbane.
Oh, cool.
I have been meaning to send you a congratulatory note on your fantastic podcast since episode 1, and I came very close on the last episode you did about clear coats. But it is the latest podcast that has compelled me to finally chime in. I have been a scale modeller since I was a kid in the 70s, but my main area has been model railroading. I was pleasantly surprised to hear you guys mention it on the podcast, so I'd like to add a few comments. Firstly, scales. The most common are HO, N, and O, probably in that order, with a number of modelers for each. HO scale is 1 to 87, N is 1 to 160, and O is 1 to 48. There are a number of other scales ranging from 1 to 220, which is known as Z scale, and 1 to 240 G scale. OO scale is mostly something that the British are into, and it is 1 to 176, although it runs HO scale track, which is correctly spaced at standard gauge, which is 4 inches, 4 1/8 inches. I don't know, I've done inches for a long time. For HO, it is out of scale for OO. The only scale with any real scope for crossover in the to the scale model world is O scale, which is 1 to 48.
Yep. Well, there you go. We learnt something.
Yeah, absolutely. And he also goes on to mention that there are a number of railroad podcasts out there, which we're aware of. And he also thought that he might mention there are a couple of other great scale model podcasts that we haven't yet mentioned. One's Scale Riders Model Car Culture podcast, which is all purely about model cars. And the other one is, and that one's based in the US. And there's another one in Canada called the Model Car Podcast, which is just about car modelling again.
Oh, cool.
So he says, anyhow, thanks again for the great podcast. It's greatly appreciated and especially great to hear that you're an Aussie. Thanks again, Carl.
No worries, Carl.
And Carl says, P.S. Even in HO scale, photo etch is your friend.
Yeah.
As long as you're
I like him.
As long as you're plugging other podcasts. I know of a podcast for Warhammer type stuff, and that's called Buried Under Plastic.
Oh,
what a great name.
Yeah, I know. It's a cool name.
What a great name.
It is a great name. I wish I had thought of that for this one.
Yeah, well, he's got quite a, metal theme to it,
Yep.
Like the music, yeah.
Rock on,
Yeah,
man.
he's got like a very sort of metal style sort of logo for it.
Oh,
and
right,
everything.
yep.
Yeah.
Tim Young writes in and says, hello, Dave, Ian and Julian.
Tim.
I love the podcast and interested to hear some model railway talk on the most recent episode. Jeez, we stepped in a minefield in that one, didn't we? Model railway scales are surprisingly complicated. Gee, you don't say, Tim. Mostly because of the difference between British scales and the rest of the world. The most popular scale worldwide is HO scale, which is 1 to 87 scale. which is 3.5 millimetres to the foot. The British version is OO scale, which is 1/76 scale, which works out to about 4 millimetres to the foot, but which runs on HO scale track. Now, this is acceptable to most modelers, but some purists will rescale the track and the wheels to run on correctly proportioned track. This is called Scale 4. There is huge commercial support for this scale. Obviously, there is plenty of crossover between 1/76 and 1/72 scale, so airfix figures and vehicles, for example, often show up in OO layouts. In fact, many scenic pieces are used interchangeably between OO and HO, so a bigger scale difference, but a lot of casual models not too concerned. Interestingly, I did stumble upon some obscure Czech military vehicle kits in 1/87 scale a while ago, which I hope to incorporate into an East European town diorama using excellent German scenery kits available from model railways. On the smaller scale, Tim goes on to say, British N gauge is 1/148, which is 2 millimetres to the foot, which has great crossover with 1/144 scale. Dove scale. Yay! International N gauge is 1/160, but again, a lot of scenery is interchangeable. This is probably the most second popular scale for modelers, as you can fit a good size layout in a small space. And he goes on to tell us that there's also a smaller gauge known as Z scale, which is 1/220 scale. Although it is uncommon and very expensive, with only German and American stock commercially available. 1/220, that'd work out for 1-200 ships, wouldn't it?
Be close.
Be very close. Yeah. Japanese T gauge is 1/1450 scale, which was first released about 10 years ago, and which still boasts motorised locomotives despite the small size, although there are only a few people who properly model in this scale. And again, 1/450 is quite a number of ships around in 1/450. Hella do a lot of their ships in 1/450.
Yes.
Tim continues on the bigger side. O gauge has varied scales. The British standard is 143.5, which is 7 millimetres to the foot. Others are a little smaller, such as G scale, 1-22.5, which is often used for garden railways. As you mentioned, there are no direct model railway scales to compare to 135, although I have seen layouts in this scale, including a model railway set in the Great War, which used extensive 1/35th scale figures and vehicles. So all the track and rolling stock was scratch built to fit.
Wow.
On a personal note, I got into plastic modelling as a kit, building 1/144 scale kits. You go, Tim. To make
Dave's got a friend.
to make an air museum on my N-gauge layout. I've tried to get back into railway modelling in recent years, but the found it's become more about buying detailed but very expensive ready-to-run locomotives and rolling stock, and there were fewer kit build options available. So instead, I found plastic modelling offers me more creativity and flexibility to work on very varied projects rather than just tying into a single scale period and setting.
Yep.
I hope this has been of use, and thank you very much for your excellent podcast, and look forward to each episode for my walks to work.
Not a problem.
Thanks very much, Tim. So, folks, we will agree that we don't know a lot about railroads, apart from the fact they look really cool, and it'd be great on the Adams Family as Gomez sort of runs them into each other and blows them up across the bridge.
Up the bridge.
But, actually, I've been to a railway show last year. I think I took my grandson to one. It was really
the local one?
Yeah, it's really cool. Those guys are dedicated.
Oh, they are, yeah.
And it's funny, I was in the model shop, and some of the locomotives or the engines, they're selling for about $450.
Yeah, and more.
And there's
Where do you get some of the custom brass ones
you're
paying a few grand for?
And there's me, and I sort of, because I was looking at a model ship today, I nearly bought online, and that was going for $400. It was Hasegawa one.
And which
one of the new modern Japanese carriers.
Oh, right, yep.
And I thought, geez, I'm not paying that. And I walked in the model shop, and there's one single locomotive going for $450.
There you go. Expensive hobby.
Yeah. So if you'd like to write in and correct us, we're more than happy to take any criticism or corrections. And you can send us an email to onthebench64@gmail.com. All right, guys. Shall we have a quick look at what's new in the modelling world?
Yeah.
Rightio. First up, we have...
Master Box.
Yeah, I'll put Master Box last.
I'll put it last.
Anyway, let's...
I agree. Put them last.
All right. So we're looking at Trumpeter.
Let's see what Trumpeter's got to say for themselves.
All right, what's Trumpeter got?
August. First of all, they're doing a P40N Warhawk fighter in 1/32 scale, Ian.
Hasegawa do it too.
Yeah, okay. It's got shark's teeth. Look at that, Ian.
Yeah, and it's got the skulls from the Burma Banshees.
Yes.
So you do Chinese, Burma.
You can't be tempted by the...
No.
Okay.
I'm not a big fan of the shade of red they use on their decals.
Yeah, it looks a bit bright, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks almost fluoro pink almost.
Pale, very pale, light red.
Yeah, don't forget that's just a screenshot, so what you actually see...
Yeah, but I've got kits of theirs as well. You know, it's... it could be a deeper red, like a proper red.
So, yeah, it's a 32 scale P40N, late model P40.
Next up from Trumpeter is the M270-A1, also known as the MILARS, MLRS, which is...
MLRS.
Multi-barreled rocket launcher system. Developed in the US.
So it's a Calliope.
Sort of.
A what?
Calliope, like the Sherman tanks used to have the rocket launchers on the
but a bit more. The munition system's a lot more advanced than
of course,
yeah.
70-odd years of...
Well, if you're going to say that, you might as well say it's a Stalin's organ then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting that there's this kit because there was previously one other kit from, I think it was Dragon or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know a whole lot about it, but generally every time Dragon steps outside of German vehicles, they tend to drop the ball.
Yeah. And have you noticed the price increase for Dragon armor kits?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
No, I haven't.
Wow, what you used to spend $60 for, you're now paying over 100.
Seriously?
Yeah.
They've gone that much in price?
Yeah.
Wow.
Nearly doubled in price, Dragon kits.
Yeah, and you have to remember that they've also dropped they've been changing out signature things that people like about their kits, like what they call magic tracks, the individual link tracks that you don't have to clip off the sprue, that just come in little bags. Instead, they're replacing them with the rubber ones.
I don't think the current trade war that's going on bodes well for any models we're hoping to purchase out of China. Which is
See what happens.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. So, yeah, that looks like a great little kit for those of you who like your modern US armour stuff. Well, modern. Now, this is particularly interesting. It really grabbed my eye. Ooh. It's in 1/350th scale. It's a Russian Tashkent destroyer, 1940. And it looks a gorgeous-looking destroyer. So much so that I'm going to have to rush out and buy this as soon as it comes because I think that is a beautiful-looking destroyer.
Actually, is it Italian?
It was
Italian
built by the Italians, I believe, and sold on to Russia. Or Russia commissioned it through the Italian shipyards.
But I love it. It's got that really nice green boot line.
Oh, the green anti-foul.
Anti-fouling,
yeah. And there is an actual no boot line, so the anti-foul just goes up to the boot line mark.
Yeah, and that light lime green colour.
And you know, the Italians have done that lime green anti-foul before during the war, so perhaps it's the way she looks when she first came out of the shipyard from if it was built in Italy.
And you know why most of them are red?
Because of the...
Copper.
Oh, I was going to say the lead.
No, it's copper. They put copper in it because the copper... I actually watched this on YouTube a couple of days ago when they had a thing, and it was that they used the copper in there, which changes that red colour. But what it does is it slowly leaches away. So any barnacles and that's try to grow on it will just fall off.
In theory.
Yeah.
Not very good for the environment.
No, that's why
that's why they're changing it all now.
Exactly.
Oh, next up from Trumpeter, we have the Joseph Stalin 5 heavy tank in 1/35th scale.
It's a big brute, isn't it?
Not particularly attractive looking tank. It was sort of the first one. This is the one you could almost go back and trace the T50s back to this because this is where they started going for their rounders, the turret.
Big round turret, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure whether it's individual links, so the track will keep you busy for a while building that. Barracuda Studios have announced quite a few releases. They've got an RAF Grand Crew in 1/24 scale.
Assembling a rocket. Very nice.
They've got the Sea Fury front spinner set, which is in 1/48 scale.
Yeah, I might have to get that for my Airfix one.
Yeah.
Sea Fury. I've got their cowl, which is beautiful. Their updated cowl. Very nice, but that'd go really well with it.
And also comes with this, and they've also announced the TA 152 main wheels.
Yep, in
30-second scale.
For the Focke-Wulfs.
And the...
And 72 and 48.
Oh, there you go. A number of different scales. That's clever, just whack them all out at the same time. Mosquito radio, World War II radio upgrade set in 1/32 scale. It comes with some decals as well, I think.
Yeah,
it would.
Decals for the gauges.
Yeah.
Looks very nice, very nicely.
Very nicely done. So
Lancaster
really
wheels
cool.
for your HK Lancaster in 32 scale.
Yeah. Now, this will be something that people will be snapping up already. It's interesting to see these things coming out already.
So all the different tread patterns.
Yeah, I saw it yesterday as well. I can't forgive me, I can't remember the company name, but they're actually releasing 3 different tread patterns for the Hellcat tyres.
Oh, wow.
In 1/24 scale.
Sounds about right.
Well, so here we have Lancaster main wheels smooth tyre, Lancaster main wheels
with the
block tread.
Yep.
And
they got a radio,
set in 1/32 scale.
For the Lancaster, which is the same radio set for the Mosquito, I'd say. Looks pretty similar.
Well, you'd think that'd be fairly similar, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
In 72nd scale, they're also doing the Lancaster smooth tyre and also doing the block tyre in 72nd scale. And so that's it from...
They're definitely slamming the stuff out, Barracuda.
They are. And a little bit more news from Masterbox. They're doing a German tank crew 1944-45 in 1/35 scale. Due to be released in October, so that's a 4-man crew.
5-man.
Beg your pardon, 5-man. Sorry, I didn't see the 5th guy crowding down there. So that should be pretty
The next
cool.
one looks good.
This is called the Desert Battle Series.
Yeah.
And
it's from their post-apocalyptic series.
Yeah.
And what do they call this? The Skull Clan New Amazons. Give it back. This is my booty. And yes, there's plenty of booty on there. It's basically a cat fight. Putting it plain and simply.
Okay.
5 post-apocalyptic girls doing the smackdown on each other.
It looks like people in post-apocalyptic sort of outfits.
Yeah. That have been to too many WWE matches.
It does look like it totally looks like a wrestling match.
All right, we'll leave that one and move on.
Looks pretty good.
Now we actually have I'm gonna call this person our secret correspondent, and he feeds us some information in regards to some of the stuff that's coming out in the future. So he's saying that Wingnut Wings are showing their new CAD on a new kit in development, which is at the present only showing an engine, which doesn't really give a lot away. But the engine's been identified as an Austrian Daimler 6-cylinder overhead camshaft.
Mm-hmm.
That engine can only be found in the following types. So the Austro-Hungarian license-built Albatros D, the Aviatak B1, B2, and D1, the Eltrich 8, the Hansa Brandenburg C1, the Hansa Brandenburg D1, and the Loner C and the Loner Type AA. A lot of those aircraft I've never heard of, but they're all from World War One.
What about a Phoenix?
No, he hasn't
Doesn't
said
go on
that.
a Phoenix?
But what he's intimating is this would be the Wingnut Wings first for an Austro-Hungarian aircraft.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, and I'm sure that it's certainly got all the World War One model forum guys all lit up at the moment in excitement.
Yes.
Our secret reporter also mentions that Kitty Hawk are potentially working towards a 1/48 scale M124 Hind attack helicopter. Dora Wings have apparently shown CAD drawings of a 132 Deloutwin D500/501 and 510. That's the interwar French
Of the Dewotin.
Yeah, the French single-seater fighter.
Yep.
So it looks like they're intending with the whole family. And this is interesting. Looks like Tamiya are going to be doing a 135th Panzer 38T E/F. And...
T-38, isn't that the Hetzer?
A 38T.
Yeah.
No, it's the one that the Hetzer is based on.
Oh, right, yes.
Right, so they would that chassis was used
little,
for the Marder series.
Czechoslovakian.
Marder M, Marder H.
Yep.
But the classic one is like the actual original tank with little tiny...
Little itty-bitty gun.
Yeah.
And the word from our secret reporter is that this is going to be a brand new Tamiya kit tool rather than the reboxing. So be pretty good.
Cool. Very cool.
All right, I think we might take a short break, gents, and come back perhaps with our special guest. What do you reckon?
Sounds good.
All right,
Sure.
Back shortly. And welcome to the show, Alex Van Der Rosten. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you. Uschi Van Der Rosten, by the way.
Uschi Van Der Rosten.
Uschi.
Yeah, but it's actually that's an artist name, and actually my name is Alexander Glass, to be precise.
Oh, okay. All right. Now I've been educated.
Alex Van Der Rosten. That's cool.
So, Alex, where did you start with your modelling? How did you sort of get into modelling?
It started on the internet in a forum. It was a German forum, so I had the time or the idea to get back to modeling a little bit, and I wasn't very in ships these days, so I checked around what did other people do with the internet at that time, and I went into a forum, a little community, became a part of it, and built stuff there. So this is the re-entry in the hobby.
Yep.
Somehow in a forum, because I saw how other people have approached the subject and so on. Then I went with the internet. It got a new boost, and I was aware of. All of a sudden, I became aware of a lot of new techniques and products and stuff like that. So that was that's how it started. That's the re-entry, right?
Yes. Yeah, you got to be on your toes these days. There's new products coming out every 5 minutes.
So you first came to my attention with your decals that you did for the wood effects.
Yeah, the wood grain.
The wood grain effects. That's the very first time you sort of popped up on my radar, and just blew me away. I mean, and then seeing what people went and did with that, with the Wingnut Wings models, and how they and then moved on and used it in other areas like that. It must have been, from your point of view, very satisfying to see something. I mean, people must have used it for things that you hadn't even thought of.
Mm-hmm. Well, the rise of Wingnut Wings actually encouraged me to do it. That's the thing. I remember very well how that all went. David Parker from Air Modeler magazine. You guys know this guy, right?
Yep.
He tackled one of the earliest Wingnut Wings kits, which is the LVG, and he applied a bare wood technique using acrylic paints solely, so just acrylic paint. I was familiar with the method of incorporating oil paints here, and I was like, hey, that thing should look beautiful when it's like oil paint, and a lot of people said, great kit. I never had real an interest in World War I aviation in particular. It was new to me at that time, and I liked the idea of playing with like the wood effects in contrast with metal effects and fabric and canvas and this stuff. So I got inspired by David Parker, and I tried to do mine and pull it off kind of the same way, but with oil paints. And in that model is oil painted LVG. It won on a couple of competitions. It became a little bit, people liked it a lot. So then people were always asking me, how did you do the wood grain? I said, I painted it by a brush. How did you paint it? Well, like a hatching manner, something like that. Try to explain it, and I was like, actually, isn't there something like a standardized process? And I googled around a little bit, and all of a sudden, I ran into some wood grain decals made by ages ago. I don't even remember the name of the manufacturer, and I was like, that's actually an idea. I mean, the artwork is crap.
Yeah.
But let's approach this from like a Photoshop perspective and use photos of real shit and sorry, oops, my language.
That's okay.
Whoops, I just slipped. Whoops, a little slip
for our US audience, Alex is from Europe, so we'll forgive him.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
So and I was like, I mean, let's try some decals. And I got myself the knowledge about how to produce these decals. And I was like, good, well, I can put them on offer. A website is an easy thing these days. And then put the logo on it, all the stuff that I had, and it went from there. So long story kept short, it has strongly something to do with the rise of wingnut wings, because without wingnut wings, wood as a topic probably wouldn't have become a thing,
Yep.
But together with wingnut wings, it became a thing. And World War I, aviation in particular became a thing.
Yeah.
Because the quality of their kits is so great and the instructions are lovely, and this is how this came.
Was that also the reason you started doing the leather decals?
Say it again, acoustically, please.
I said, was that the same reason you started bringing out those leather decals? The leather effect?
Yes, did that. Yeah, in a way, yes. So using a decal for something which is difficult to paint, if that is a national insignia on an airplane, or a red star or swastika, whatever, everything is like difficult to paint, people use decals. And once you have identified that you can do that with like wood textures as well, the step to other materials such as leather or even concrete, it's not so huge, right? So this is just like the logical, quote unquote logical development, like from one product to another.
Just the next step. Yep.
Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, leather decals, they need another little push, I guess, because the ones I have, they are like beige and red brown, and I think I'm gonna make another one which is like black leather, like dark blackish, with nice damage textures on it and stuff.
Yeah, that would look good. Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
But since your decal study just seemed to have gone from strength to strength to strength to strength, and it's been really interesting watching the rise of this new little empire sort of popping out of Europe, so to speak, with all the great things you're now producing, and the stuff's just being snapped up left, right, and centre. And on top of
say again, please, the last part of this previous comment.
Oh, sorry, that's an Australian sort of thing. I'm just saying everything's getting taken up really quickly. You're really hitting that. You're putting things out that the market seems to need and want.
Yeah, if I understand correctly, acoustically, it is. Maybe it's because I'm a modeler myself, so I approach this from. I sit on the bench, do my thing, and experiment a little bit, like to the left and to the right, get inspired all of a sudden, and think like, this is interesting. That could be interesting for other people as well, because it really makes the whole task more easy or reliable or whatever. And this is where these ideas come from. And sometimes I also get approached by other people who say, hey, look what I found. Don't you think it's a good idea? Don't you think it would make sense to make a product of it? And sometimes there's some good ideas amongst these suggestions. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So what do you prefer to build yourself when you find some time to go and sit down? What do you actually...
Yeah, I kind of got hooked on say, appearance of a model rather than on the subject. I like it when there is like materials existing on that model which have a huge contrast. For example, bare metal and wood, and maybe also in contrast with some armored vehicles techniques. For example, there is from Bronco and Amusing and from others, there is a rocket system. It's a German late war anti-aircraft rocket. It's called the Rheintochter.
Yes, I've seen that.
Right? And that is sitting on a 8.8. What's the English word for this? Lafette, you say it here. So it's an 8.8 gun mount.
Yep.
And there's a rocket sitting on top of it, so you can go crazy on your armored fighting vehicle techniques used on the Lafette. Then you have the rocket itself, which is where you can go crazy with all your aviation blah 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 techniques. You know what I'm saying, like bare metal and even wood. And this is like this is the reason why I picked that thing, because I can go crazy with AFV. I can put my aircraft wood, metal stuff. It's everything. That's how I like it. So it's not so much about what object that is, or if it's a certain car or aircraft. It's for me, it's the materials I can combine on one project, so it looks kind of cool.
Yep.
Actually,
I know exactly what you mean. Like you've seen people that like do the MiG-3 in the all metal and with the wooden wings, and they just look fantastic.
Yes, it does.
Or the Horton 229.
Yes, another candidate. Also the i16 Rata. It's also there's a kit from Eduard, I think, pretty good kit. Same thing. Or the IL 3, the tank destroyer aircraft from the Russians. There's also, I think, is it Eduard, something like that? Or Trumpeter? I said Trumpeter. Yeah, the 32nd scale Trumpeter. That's good stuff. Yeah, and sometimes I also did. I got a couple of Yellow Wing era American World War II, pre-World War II, I should say, fighters in my stash as well. And it's the same thing. I like just how they look like.
Yes.
Right. Yep. So they got like, it's not bare metal, but they got metalish like fuselages with yellow wings that looks damn slick. I love it.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, I remember years ago I built the Hasegawa Boeing F4B4. And that's a stunning little kit. That's for something that came out in the 1970s. It's a stunning little kit. Mm-hmm. And that's all over grey fuselage, bright yellow wings, fantastic.
Yeah,
looks really good.
So it's something. I have something. Maybe it can be called having an artistic approach to it. I think that is, or at least an aesthetic approach.
Yes.
So yes. I do. I build things because I like how they look like. Not so much
the subject, just how it looks.
Build a, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, fully understand.
With a tendency towards aircraft, because I like the techniques. Yeah, aircraft. Yes. I never build a full tank. Yeah.
Alex, you always seem to be jet setting around the world, going off to various model shows. Have you picked up any sort of interesting sort of trends between the different countries that you travel to in regards to modelling?
Trends. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, World War I aviation was a little bit like a trend, even in Japan. So all of a sudden, there were like World War I aviation in Germany was not really, in Japan, was not really a thing. That is all again. So that's a trend. I mean, it's obvious. Like people like to build more of these World War I kind of things. What else is a trend? Trends is also that people more and more use the techniques which are presented in the usual suspects magazines, right?
Yes.
Like all the weathering publications.
Yes.
So people use these techniques and they chip around and they modulate the paint or the light, I should say, and they use their filters and everything. Because so I think there's the standard quality-wise goes upward a little bit, maybe influenced by those magazines, which is an improvement in communication if you take it like that. So that could be a trend. I think the models are getting better and better. I have the impression, and I still think, and it's from the very beginning, that the greatest average quality in model shows is somewhere in Czechoslovakia and in Hungary. It's very high, followed closely by what's going on in Belgium, for example. Belgium and the neighboring countries. That's like also Holland, like this Western European thing. That is this Belgium Holland is also there's just a high average, right? There's many first class models in the competition.
Yes.
And in the US, there's also first class competition models in a competition, of course, but it's not that many. At least it's my personal impression.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't think you're alone on that.
No, fully agree. Like I noticed that Norway as well. There's some marvellous model builders in Norway.
Right.
There's some beautiful, especially when it comes to dioramas. Yes.
Yeah, there's one name, and actually there's one name that we all know. I think this is Per Olaf Lund, and of course he also has a couple of friends around him, but they're not that. I don't know. People more they know Per Olaf Lund rather than the other gentleman, but the other gentleman also
contributes as much. Yeah.
And fantastic models, of course. But the most known is Per Olaf Lund.
Yep.
I think it's because he picks the scene like a paint artist somehow. So he's really picking a scene and makes it dramatic, and people like that a lot.
Oh yeah, I saw one of these books that he brought out, and it just absolutely blew my mind. It's just the quality of his work. It's like looking at an old master's painting.
Yep. Yeah, they also I experimented with a lot of it with chipping on bird. It was influenced by him as well.
Yeah.
I remember that it's about like 8-9 years ago, and I checked the chipping thing a little bit. That was before there was a chipping fluid around.
Yes, we had to use old
hairspray.
Hairspray, yes.
Yeah, hairspray. That was hairspray, right? Hairspray to me, there's two names when it comes to hairspray in my book. That is Per Olaf Lund and also Mike Rinaldi. He also experimented a lot with hairspray.
Yes, I remember that with Mr. Rinaldi.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
Well, they were definitely the pioneers, weren't they?
Yeah, and well, they somehow, they made it become a thing. They were able to, they were using this technique, and they were able to inspire other people.
Yep.
So those people went there and said, "Hey, it's looking good. I tried myself," and they found it to be not as difficult as they thought. And then there was a little trend, like all the winter camos and stuff. That was during the days of the old MIG forum. There was the old MIG Productions, the MIGWEL's number one company, MIG Productions.
Yes.
Those days, as he was still like cooperating with Adam Weidel, that was actually that was a golden age somehow. This is how I got in touch with stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you get your jet setting around the world, but you haven't managed to land in Australia yet for one of our model shows.
Yeah, which is odd enough. What I often do is that I cooperate with an importer, right? So I mean, all these travels, they need to be like financed, and I cannot like jet set around because I don't got a hedge fund as a heritage. So I need to work for the buck, you know.
Yeah.
So. What we do in the US, for example, is there's always an IPMS show connected. So I contact my importer, work together with my importer, and then he's putting an order in, and I ship this order ahead, or however we do that. And actually, the trip is like financed from this show, for example,
right,
which makes me able to get there and talk to new customers and talk to the people and be an ambassador of my own brand, if you wish.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
That goes for Japan. That goes for South America. That goes for everything. That's how I roll. That's the only way to do it. And there's also I work with an Australian importer too. And a long time ago, I made a suggestion, but it probably was not the right time. The cooperation has improved right now. Again, it was a little bit like a. It was not so intense for a while, but it has intensified right now. A couple of weeks ago, actually, and maybe I will make the suggestion to him again and see if he's going to some shows, and if he's saying yes, then we roll out the same thing. So. Yeah. I'm going to come and help him selling and explaining the product to all the customers and be an ambassador of my own brand.
Well,
I would love to come to Down Under. Why not? I've never been there.
Yeah,
you
well,
you got to go to the Melbourne Model Expo.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the big one.
That's the big one in Australia.
Yep. Yeah,
that's the one we're at anyway.
Gotcha. Need to look it up on Google. Yeah.
You're slowly branching out into model kits now with various. You've been dipping your toe in the water with a few little kits here and there. Not sort of full. Well, they are full blown kits in their own right. But any sort of hints as to where you're going to head towards in the future?
That you probably are referring to Das Werk.
Yes, Das
Werk. Yeah, and Das Werk is a team effort. I only participated in the kickoff phase, in the starting phase of this, by giving it a logo, design, so the basic, setting the basic path. So the most recent releases like the Panther and everything, I'm not involved in this anymore. Because that's I cannot dance on too many marriages, as we say, right? So you just can dance on one party. That was something that we found out early this year. There is another project coming up where I'm gonna be again like deeply involved in it because it's more like my cup of tea, and that's also from the early planning phase. So I'm gonna finish that thing. But there's actually it's a part of a participation process. Yeah, I just participated in those projects. The products per se, the brand per se, is owned by MBK Europe, right? So he financed everything, and there's also like he's holding all this together. Mm-hmm. And I was just a member in the creative phase there, designing the manual, topic selection a little bit. But then I found out that I was too diversified. There was the import-export business. There was Uschi. There was Das Werk. And if you think about it, all these three things is a full-time job already. So and I had the crazy idea to be able to manage that all kind of the same time, which led on a certain point to the insight that it's not much very, very good idea.
Yeah.
Also, there was one little thing that triggered it. That was that the carrier we're using for Uschi, they changed their terms of service and the rates they offer, and that little thing led to a additional complication, in which we had a waiting time for a random order of say 2 or 3 weeks or something like that.
Yep.
And then things really got like complicated. I was like, okay, no, we need to do something about it. That's not how it goes further. So we kind of changed assignments a little bit. So I gave this away. I said, okay, the basic design for the manual for Das Werk is done. So you guys just need to put in the elements. And then Pete Heyman, he said, oh, I can do this too. So Pete and Heyman were on the same side because we're also design-wise, we had the same taste. And then he did that, and I got out. And I'm now focusing again strongly on Uschi. And so there's new products coming out right now. There's the Trinity and so on. So I kind of Ronnie said that the other day. He said that he has the impression that I'm gonna go back to the roots a little bit, and he might be right on that one.
Good.
Well, a lot of people are very excited about the Trinity coming out. I know I am, and I'm looking forward to it appearing in my mailbox sometime in the future. And
I hope soon. We're working on this right now.
But in my dealings with you, I've always had no problems whatsoever. Placing an order with you, and it sort of came out in I would call it a reasonable amount of time. It's
and the quality of the product's brilliant.
Absolutely. I mean, I recently ordered those little scissors and the tweezers that you were selling. And those scissors are absolutely fantastic for doing rigging work.
Yeah.
Just absolutely.
That's a waste. Yeah, that's the reason why these are on offer, because I saw them and I was like, holy cow, these are great.
Yeah.
Where are they from? Right? And I did my best to identify the manufacturer and work out a deal with them. And that's a typical. It's not an Uschi development, obviously, but I just found these and I was like, other people going to love this too. They're going to love it. It's a great product.
Well, I mean, I'd been looking for similar type of scissors of that size, and the only place I could find them was at Surgical Style, and they were outrageously expensive. And it just wasn't worth my while to go and spend, $150 on a pair of scissors, because I'm not going to be using them in a surgical situation,
Yeah.
Although you could argue that rigging, 1/350 scale ships is a surgical precision.
Yeah, that's right. But it gives you an insight in the pharmacy industry or in the equipment industry. I mean, it's at the end of the day, a surgeonist or a doctor could work probably with the same product, but there's more people sitting between him and the source. You know what I'm saying? And there's also people accept a way higher price point when it's about their personal health. But at the end of the day, this surgery guy, he could probably work with the same product.
And dare I say, there's probably more regulations in between that as well, whereas in the modelling world, there's many regulations in regards to it.
True that, certification processes and stuff like that also costs money. It has an impact on the price for sure, True.
True. Totally agree.
All right, mate. Listen, I know that you're really, really busy and that you've got a whole heap of stuff to get out the door, and people are just hanging out to receive all those stuff that you're about to post out. Thank you very much for your time. We would love to have you back on the show if you got an announcement in the future of something new, a new product or something that's coming up. So by all means, reach out to us and let us know, and we're happy just to have you on. You're only a phone call away, so
that's right.
That'd be really cool.
Yep.
Yes, totally sir. Agree. That sounds good. Yeah, definitely keep in touch, and thanks for having me on your show. I'm going to contact you later and ask you for the details it's going to be on YouTube, right?
No, it's a podcast, so it'll be on iTunes.
Oh, podcast, all right.
But great. I'll put a link into your page, and the other way too, if people want to contact you and get go to your website, your page, what's the address for that?
The page is Uschi. The best thing is you hit Google, you go for Uschi. It's like sushi, the same thing. but Uschi and then Van Der Rosten or modeling or something, because I can give you the URL right now. What's this?
Yeah, please do.
www.uschivdr.com. But how to spell this? That thing is just hit Uschi modeling Google on Google, and the page is going to be in a very early results. Yeah, that's the best thing to do it, I guess.
So that's Uschi spelled USCHI.
That's it.
Yeah, that's a uniform Sierra Charlie Hotel India.
Very good. Well done.
Yep.
All right, Alex. Thanks very much, mate, and we'll talk again soon.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for having me.
Okay, no worries.
Thanks, Uschi.
Bye. All right, there's a really good conversation with Alex.
Yeah.
He seems a bit rushed. He's a bit busy, unfortunately, at the moment, so we couldn't get the full amount of time we wanted.
He's snowed under. I don't think Alex realised how popular his company was going to become.
I think you're right, yes.
I think he's really taken the modelling industry by storm with dust work and all these different decals and everything he's bringing out. As we discussed, it's all top quality stuff too.
And even when you just go to his Facebook page and he'll put a comment about something, it gets up to 160 replies. So, and you figure that, it's only 1 in 10 people actually writing the other 10. It's a lot of people sort of, got a bit of an interest in there.
Totally agree.
And I've got to vouch, the stuff he sends me is just brilliant. It works every time and it's top quality stuff. Yep. So check it out.
Yep, definitely agree.
All right, well, that's it for tonight.
Yep. It's a bit of a shorter show than last time.
Oh, by the time I pad it out and add a few other things in, it's a show.
It is, yes.
We haven't figured out what we're doing next fortnight, but we'll
figure something out. We'll figure something out.
So, Ian, from you.
Oh, photo, which is your friend?
Julian.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say of that sort of nature.
All right, guys.
I've got something.
Oh, okay.
When you're cleaning your airbrush, the less often you do it, it's probably the better, just because you won't break anything in it.
I'll catch you guys the fortnight. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that show, and we'll be back in a fortnight. But in the meantime, don't forget to check in with our good friends over at the Scale Model Podcast, run by Stuart and Anthony Goodman. And they produce their show on our off week. So that means every week you get a modelling podcast. And don't forget, if you want to leave us a message or get in contact with us, you can do so by sending us an email to onthebench64@gmail.com. And of course, there's a Facebook page as well. Just search for On The Bench and you'll find us. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll be back in a fortnight.